comfortable having been missed out, but nevertheless. So I think, if I have to say something, as far as the first part of it is concerned, this life certificate actually, when I was listening to all these gentlemen, is actually a success story which simultaneously accomplishes more than one goal. And why I'm saying so, I'll tell you after a few moments. But before that, the background to this. So when we came in 2014, I realized there were two issues related to the pensions department which had never been actually attended to, because the department itself was very least attended. Even today, I don't know many of you are aware where the office is located. You'll be glad to know it is in Khan Market. So, but one was that you had to produce yourself once in a year before a doctor to get a certificate testifying that you were alive. So actually, before I came in, I had done this task for a very elderly relative of mine. But since I was myself a doctor, so I would just put in the certificate and collect the family pension for that old lady, who of course later on passed away. So I thought this was a little inhuman. We had heard of death certificate being procured. Once a death happens in the hospital, everybody rushes. Certificate death का जरूर ले लेना, बाद में insurance के पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे. So the survivors, they are more particular about their future. The past is gone. But to ask a human being to produce a certificate about his being alive, so my initial thought was that we should not have it. But then I came across, when we were still, toying with that idea, one of the senior bank officials came and wanted to correct me with a small story. He said, we had a case where a gentleman kept drawing the pension of his father for as many as 5 or 6 years after the father had passed away. Because he must have got all the checks signed कि पिताजी रोज रोज आपको साइन करना नहीं होता तो कर दीजिए एक ही बार. So then I realized कि हाँ संसार तो सब लोगों के साथ चलता है. So we thought we should keep some check. And then we hit upon this technology. So this was one of the first things we did in the first 6 months. The other thing was that with the indulgence of Honorable Prime Minister, the pension was fixed to be minimum 1,000 rupees. And it was painful to see when we held that countrywide camp. I was in Chandigarh, we came across elderly ladies coming for 35 rupees pension, traveling all the way from the village to the office on the first of every month. So that was second. And the third one was that you had a huge pension form. So I remember Mr. Kothari was there. So I sat with Mr. Kothari, myself made a single form. So in Government of India, we were the first to have a single page form. And we made an announcement that very soon we will carry it on as a campaign, a single page form for everything. Because there are so many things which were, just as you realized that the minister was dispensable, the show would anyway go on. Similarly, we realized that pension could be actually carried forward even without filling up 110 pages. They were so repetitive. First of all, that form had carried on from those times when you didn't have these computerized versions. So you had to have, one was yellow color, one was blue color, one was white color. So yellow had to go to possibly bank, blue had to go to ARPG, and the red one to the third one. So that could be identified with it. And the information was date of birth, then date of birth of your spouse, married or unmarried, married number of times, all those things. So I scribed one after that, drew extreme satisfaction in doing so. I said, why do you ask him how many wives? Are you going to increase his pension for maintenance? No. So what's the point? So we did away, and Mr. Kothari said, we just had 5 or 6 blanks to fill. Name, age of the date of retirement, last salary, and the nominee who would be entitled for family pension. That's about all. And of course the bank account number. It's just 6 or 7. So these 3 things we did just within 6 months. And now, very lately, I think it was the month of November, we were pointed out that even the biometry that we had introduced, this digital certificate, was not very authentic because people had started living long in India. The lifespan is increasing. So we hit upon this. I think we were again among the first in government to introduce this face recognition technology. Otherwise, earlier on, it was being used in the crime world more often than the others. And this exercise, I think, what is not being pointed out when all these panelists were talking, as I said, it is a success story achieving simultaneously more than one goal. A, this is again a testimony to the whole of government approach, which Prime Minister has been reiterating time and again. You had the participation of ARPG, the participation of the UID, the participation of the banking sector. B, I think this is one of the largest countrywide campaigns ever undertaken by the Department of Pension or maybe even other departments. You had as many as 2 lakh disbursing banks involved in this. And you had a record number of 24 or 25 lakh digital certificates generated just within 20 days. So that's a record in itself. Out of which 2 to 3 lakh were the face recognition technology based. And you had put up these camps in as many as 28 cities. So this campaign itself is a testimony and also vindication of the success if we involve the whole of government in any exercise, like we did recently in the Swachh Sagar Abhiyan. And the other goal which is being simultaneously involved is the ease of living for the citizen, more so for the elder citizen in this case. And interestingly also involvement of the pensioner himself. So right from day one I have been insisting that the people are retiring at the age of 60, which when they are prime of their experience, prime of their expertise, prime of their know-how about the department which they have worked. So we should not let them go like that. We should engage them in one way or the other, maybe in the advisory capacity or some other capacity. Otherwise, either their energy goes waste or they become RTI activists and then keep bothering you because they know all the inside details of your cupboard. So this is also, I think, one success story. We had 50 registered pensioners associations actually working in this campaign very actively, and they become so active that now they have started sending mails. Even yesterday I received a mail which I passed on to Mr. Mathur. They are saying that so-and-so bank is not included in this exercise, and therefore there are some issues being raised. So I think this is also a vindication of what we thought about using the pensioners' talents or their capacities after superannuation, and therefore we can use them in other fields also. And the awareness part is not remain confined only to the pensioner about the face recognition technology and other technologies. It's become a social awareness campaign, because if you see the photographs, you would notice when a government official shows him or teaches him how to use the mobile phone, the entire family is watching. So you have not realized that you are actually educating the society about the new technologies which are there available with us. The technology is not lacking, but we are not ready for that. So these are some of the issues, and I think now next level would be, because now we are very much into the era of artificial intelligence, telemedicine, telepathy. Maybe a few years hence, you may not even have to show him the mobile. He would just think, the thought would move the entire process. The mobile would pick up his picture and send it across, or by some other means, even by a satellite wave. So I think we are keeping with the technology boost that the Prime Minister has been pushing. And as far as the second part of it is concerned, what Mr. Rajput was saying, this is the 25th conference. This is also a new initiative that we took in this government. We have moved out of Vigyan Bhavan. Otherwise, it's very easy. All the infrastructure available there. It's economically also more feasible. But I think now this is an effort of reaching out to the different regions. So the capital is moving out to the states, not that states have always come to New Delhi. So this we did when I was in Northeast. We opened up small offices over there. So we said, we started the program Donor at Doorstep. So they could reach out. So now we have moved out to 24 different areas. Now we are moving to 25th. So when it was spoken about the north, they thought it was best to have the beginning from the holy city of Katra, Vaishno Devi. And the other part is related with the pension is the Anubhav Award. Why I'm saying so that maybe through you we could, publicize it much wider. This is another new initiative which was taken by this government over 5-6 years back. Every superannuating official is expected to write his small account, a memoir or whatever significant he thinks of his 25-30 years of service having put in. So that it is an education for us also, a good feedback for us, and maybe some amount of satisfaction for him. So these are some of the new initiatives which have been undertaken, and I'm sure we'll move on from here. But as of now, this is a record in itself.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have the questions, 125.
सर मेरे दो छोटे सवाल हैं। एक सवाल तो जो पीएसयू से रिटायर हुए हैं, क्या उनके लिए भी इस तरह की स्कीम आएगी? क्योंकि कई सारे पीएसयू ऐसे हैं जिसमें काफ़ी हज़ारों की तादाद में जो रिटायरिंग हमारे सर्वेंट्स रहे हैं, उनके लिए भी क्या ये सुविधा इस तरह की आप जारी करेंगे? और दूसरा, जो सर्टिफिकेट आप जो कैंप्स लगते हैं, बिसाइड कैंप्स, जो सीनियर सिटीजन्स या जो बुज़ुर्ग अलाइव हैं, कुछ हॉस्पिटलों में भी एडमिट होते हैं, कुछ कोमा में पड़े होते हैं, तो कोमा वाले को क्या लाइफ सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा सर?
नहीं, ऐसा है, ये दोनों ही प्रश्न वैसे तो इनके उत्तर पहले आ जाने चाहिए थे हमारी तरफ से। ये चूँकि देयर मैंडेट इज लिमिटेड टू द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज, इसलिए इन्होंने ऐसा किया। बट द रिफॉर्म विच जनरेट्स इन दिस मिनिस्ट्री, द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पर्सनल, पर्टिकुलरली दे आर वर्किंग अंडर द डिपार्टमेंट इज एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स। एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म से जो रिफॉर्म डेवलप होती है, दैट इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी एमुलेटेड बाय अदर्स एज वेल, not only the PSUs, even the state governments, and we would insist upon the state governments also. And I think being a healthy practice, ये जो governance conference हो रही है, this is also meant for that, the e-governance. This is also one of the e-governance issues which are sought to be propagated to the other states. तभी हम 25 जगह जा करके ये कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हैं, दिल्ली में ना करके एक। और दूसरा जो कैंप्स का है, इनफैक्ट वन ऑफ द बेस्ट इंस्टांसेस इज ऑफ द कोविड पेंडेमिक. These are the bankers who were going home, and we use the services of the postal department also. Incidentally, none of the postal representatives here. They were going to the pensioner's house or an elder citizen's house and doing all the formalities. So there is a provision already. If the person is unable to come or incapacitated, they reach out.
हाँ,
जी जी, जब तक डेट डिक्लेयर नहीं हुआ तो दैट अप्लाइज टू यू एंड मी आल्सो. एज लॉन्ग एज वी आर कोमा, वी विल नॉट बी डिक्लेयर्ड डेड, neither you nor me.
नहीं, हॉस्पिटल्स में
नहीं यार, ये तो दैट्स अ यूनिवर्सल प्रिंसिपल.
हॉस्पिटल्स में हमारी जो एसोसिएशंस हैं, जो लोकल सिटीज़ में जो आईसीयूज में लोग हैं, तो हमारे लोग वहाँ पे भी
मतलब है कि उसके वो लाइफ माना जाएगा, वो तो है.
यस सर, लाइफ सर्टिफिकेट बिल्कुल माना जाएगा,
है ही लाइफ है, उसमें कोई दूसरी
47.
सर, एक बहुत ही ज्वलंत सवाल ये है कि सर आप लोग बहुत अच्छी योजना बनाते हैं, लेकिन दिल्ली की बात की जाए और दूसरे राज्यों की बात की जाए, अभी भी वहाँ पे ओल्ड एज जो पेंशन्स होती हैं वो रेगुलरली नहीं मिलती बैंक से, कुछ न कुछ राज्य सरकारें उसको रिलीज़ नहीं करती हैं. तो अब ये सर ठीक है, आइडेंटिफिकेशन अब हो गया, सब कुछ हो गया, लेकिन पेंशन तो आई नहीं रही है सर. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा सवाल आप लोगों तक भी पहुँचता होगा, खासतौर से ये सबसे पहले फेस करना पड़ता है बैंक के अधिकारियों को.
नहीं, बिल्कुल आप ठीक कह रहे हैं. कल ही एक ऐसा सवाल पहुंचा है एक प्रदेश से, तो मैंने तुरंत इनको फॉरवर्ड कर दिया माथुर साहब को, और इन्होंने उसका संज्ञान भी लिया. अब होता क्या है कि इन अ फेडरल सेटअप एंड इन द स्पिरिट ऑफ कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म, you can advise them, you can persuade them, you can insist them, you can chase them, but you can't catch hold of their hand and sign on their behalf. तो हम अपनी तरफ से, हमारा निरंतर प्रयास रहता है कि जब ये सारा प्रावधान लाया गया है फॉर ईज ऑफ लिविंग, और वही अगर उद्देश्य प्राप्त ना हो तो इट डिफीट्स द वेरी पर्पस. आप ठीक कह रहे हैं, ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है मे बी, बट आई डोंट होल्ड देम, आई डोंट थिंक ऑल ऑफ देम आर एक्चुअली मोटिवेटेड ऑलवेज. मे बी दे आर नॉट यूज्ड टू दीज न्यू कंडीशंस एंड न्यू इनिशिएटिव, तो उनको समझने में थोड़ा वक्त लग रहा है. जैसे हमारा जो सीपी ग्राम्स था, अभी 6 महीने से हमने लगभग काफ़ी स्टेट्स को उसके साथ जोड़ दिया। पहले उनको समझ ही नहीं था आ रहा, दे हैड देयर ओन ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल। तो धीरे धीरे उनको भी एजुकेट करने की ज़रूरत है। और ये जो जगह जगह जा कर के वर्कशॉप्स कर रहे हैं, उससे ये भी एक फ़ायदा हो रहा है कि वहाँ के राज्य के लोग, अधिकारी भी और समाज को भी थोड़ी सी इसकी समझ आ रही है।
80।
सर हेलो, प्रशांत हूँ मैं न्यूज़ 24 से। मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि फेस ऑथेंटिकेशन का प्रोसीजर कैसे होगा, कैसे कोई उसको उसमें रजिस्टर करेगा, और आप लोग कैसे करेंगे? घर जाके करेंगे, किसी ऐप के जरिए करेंगे, कैसे है पूरा प्रोसीजर?
वो अभी आपको ये करके ही दिखा देंगे। आपने अपने चेहरे के अपना कैमरा रखना और वो आपको आधार के साथ लिंक्ड है, 1 मिनट में शनाख्त हो गई कि आप वही हैं जो आप चाहते हैं।
तो वो कोई ऐप है?
हाँ, इसमें एक्चुअली जीवन
इसमें ऐप है,
एक
आप ही बता दीजिए।
जीवन प्रमाण ऐप है। जीवन प्रमाण
फोटो के साथ दिखाए।
जीवन प्रमाण
ऐप है।
जीवन प्रमाण ऐप जो है एनआईसी ने डेवलप किया है, और जीवन प्रमाण ऐप जो है वो यूआईडी का जो सर्वर है उससे लिंक्ड है। तो अगर कोई भी पेंशनर देना चाहे फेस ऑथेंटिकेशन किसी भी फ़ोन, स्मार्टफोन से, एंड्रॉयड फ़ोन से, वो अपना एक वन टाइम पहले डिटेल्स भरते हैं तो वो ऑपरेटर फ़ोन हो जाता है एक बार भर के। फिर हर बार जब वो करेंगे तो प्री फिल्ड इन्फॉर्मेशन आएगी और उससे इमीडिएटली 60 सेकंड के अंदर लाइव सर्टिफिकेट बन करके और फ़ोन में डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं। और ये जो है बैंक के सर्वर पे भी ऑटोमेटिकली पहुंचता है।
संक्षेप में ये है कि डाउनलोड करने की जरूरत नहीं है। जब आप देखेंगे अपना चेहरा
जी,
तो चूंकि आधार के साथ वो लिंक्ड है, वो आइडेंटिफाई हो गया और वहाँ भी इंफॉर्मेशन चली गई जहाँ जानी चाहिए। बस इतना, बहुत सी ब्रीफ प्रोसीजर है।
ये एंड्रॉयड, आईफोन सब पे है। और लाइव सर्टिफिकेट मतलब कब तक मान्य रहेगा? मतलब एक बार
1 साल
बना
तक के लिए
लिया तो
मान्य
फिर-
रहता है, 1 साल के लिए मान्य रहता है। और जितने भी लोग जो कि 80 एंड अबव हैं उन वो 1 अक्टूबर से दे सकते हैं, और बाकी लोग जो हैं लेस देन 80, बिटवीन 60 एंड 80, वो 1 नवंबर से दे सकते हैं। तो वो उनका जो है पूरे 1 साल तक वो मान्य रहता है।
38।
Mantri ji, some state governments have gone back to old pension scheme. Then what would be of that reform brought by Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2004? Since you are making infrastructure for all state employees and central government employees, so will central government also consider to brought this again, or what would be your policy?
Now, strictly speaking, I can easily escape out of this because this is related to finance ministry. लेकिन अब आपने कर ही दिया है तो आई थिंक दे आर वर्किंग आउट सम वाया मीडिया। पेंशन पहुंचाना आप तक, लेकिन तय करने वाला कहीं। बट नेवरदलेस आई थिंक द गवर्नमेंट इज आल्सो कंसिडरिंग हाउ टू मूव ऑन विद दिस।
22।
Sir, this is Jitendra Singh from the Hindu. Since you are collecting a lot of data of senior citizens, is this in consonance with the data protection law, which is yet to become a legislation? How are you going to preserve the data and protect the data? This is
as far as UIDI is concerned, any authentication information that comes to us, there is already in the Aadhaar Act specified what we have to do, and we keep this data for 6 months just for verification in case some disputes come in, and there's a set out procedure in the Act, in our Aadhaar law, what we don't keep any data. I'm sure as far as the pensioners are concerned, it's the bank, and you might be able to talk about that.
This is a very harmless data. This is not, it's not data in the sense that you are talking about. Doesn't fall in that category of class. It's simply meant to ensure that the person to whom the pension is going to be dispensed exists. So that's about all. It's a very limited purpose exercise happening.
71।
सर प्रशांत हूँ एबीपी न्यूज़ से। ओल्ड पेंशन स्कीम वाले सवाल को ही थोड़ा सा और आगे बढ़ाना चाहूँगा। आपने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट इज कंसिडरिंग हाउ टू मूव ऑन दिस इशू, तो क्या इसमें इसको लेकर कोई रीथिंकिंग चल रही है?
मैंने ये नहीं कहा गवर्नमेंट इज कंसिडरिंग, वो खबर नहीं बनाना ऐसी। मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो जो इनपुट्स आ रही है उसका संज्ञान लिया जा रहा है। तो जो आगे कैसे होगा वो जो कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट है वो देखेगा। इसमें ज़्यादातर फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट का ही रहता है भूमिका।
265.
सर मेरा एक आपसे सवाल है कि जैसे बैंक का डाटा, आप मैडम भी बैठी है बैंक से, बैंक की तरफ से जो पेंशन वाले हैं उनको एक मैसेज चला जाए कि आप इस हमारे इस ऐप पे आइए, कुछ इस तरह की इंफॉर्मेशन जा सकती है कि बैंक में से ऑलरेडी उसको पेंशन मिल रही है?
नहीं, ये जो जाएगा
हाँ,
ये ऑटोमेटिकली बैंक के उसमें जा रहा है।
सर वो आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है।
अकाउंट में रजिस्टर हो रहा है।
कई लोगों को अभी पता नहीं है, मैं कह रहा हूँ बैंक की तरफ से एक इंफॉर्मेशन अगर चली।
नहीं, बैंक की तरफ से मैसेज चले जाए टू द पेंशनर।
Banks are issuing. Banks are issuing. In fact, if you recall the SBI slides, they showed a message in that.
इनफैक्ट इस पूरे प्रयास को हम लोग पेंशनर्स तक लेके जा रहे हैं। हम
इन्होंने
लोग
घर घर
उनको
जाके कैंप
SMS
इसीलिए
भी भेज रहे हैं और पैम्फलेट्स भी इसके ऊपर हम जारी कर रहे हैं। खास करके हमने पेंशन एसोसिएशन का हेल्प लेके सभी पेंशनर्स को संज्ञान में दे रहे हैं।
इनफैक्ट दे आर गोइंग वन स्टेप फर्दर। सिर्फ मैसेज ही नहीं भेज रहे, ये पेंशनर एसोसिएशन के साथ बुजुर्ग के घर जा रहे हैं। उसमें कुछ एक फोटो दिखाने थे आपने, यू गॉन टू इंडिविजुअल हाउस होल्ड्स। दी पेंशन एसोसिएशन के जो वहाँ के प्रतिनिधि हैं उस स्थान के, उनको ज्ञात रहता है कि कहाँ कहाँ हमारा बुजुर्ग पेंशनर है, उनके पास पूरी सूची है, तो उनको ये लेके जाते हैं। ऐसे ये एक्सरसाइज चल रही है।
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please join us for tea on the 4th floor.